Welcome back to the Group Practice Accelerator podcast, brought to you by Polaris Healthcare Partners, where we leverage decades of healthcare and business experience to drive growth in successful group practices just like yours. If you're a healthcare entrepreneur and you're interested in building, scaling, or exiting your group practice, you've found not only the industry's leading resource for business education, but a team of trusted advisors dedicated to helping you achieve and exceed your goals. In short, the team at Polaris creates clarity, confidence, and results. I'm your host, Jamie Falash, and the Group Practice Accelerator podcast is on the air. Well, hey everyone, thanks for joining me again this week because I've got a really interesting guest with me here today. And I think we're all going to learn a thing or two about efficiency and why that matters. Stop it. I know how exciting efficiency sounds, but seriously, it should be exciting because greater efficiency ties directly to increased revenue, profitability, and we all like to see our EBITDAs on the rise, don't we? Plus, in a little bit, I'm going to tell you how you can take advantage of some great education that's headed your way if you're planning to add any locations now or in the future. And of course, how today's guest is going to help us with that. So let's talk about efficiency. That can come in a lot of forms, and it's meant to help us streamline, cut waste, refine our processes, things like that. And it makes it ideal for scalability when we're efficient. But what we find is that oftentimes we're just too close to any of these little, and hey, sometimes they're big issues, and we really can't see them. And sometimes those problems can seem really small, and we ask ourselves, why should we even care about them? Well, because what might appear to be small inefficiencies can add up to big dollars at the end of the day, as you might understand. It's simple math. Multiply that little issue and let's plug in operatory and practice design or layout, workflow, supply cost, and of course your time, etc., and multiply that across all of your ops, now all of your locations, and you see what it's really costing you. So we're big on data around here, so we'll need to use some evidence to prove that certain techniques do work to solve for these issues that can cost us. But we also want the solution to be tested and to understand why it's important for you as a leader to call these concepts into action and provide a repeatable and efficient workflow and practice design for your organization. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce today's guest, Jennie Vanderpool, Senior Manager for Process Improvement and Effectiveness at Midmark Corporation. Jennie's going to give us a little background on her expertise in efficiency because she's a card-carrying Lean Six Sigma black belt. And in fact, she's going to be speaking at our co-hosted event with Midmark this March in a session called Lean Six Sigma by Design in Action. And I can't wait to see her present and learn how design directly impacts our daily lives, our practices, and all that efficiency that I've been talking about. Jennie, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Jamie. Looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in person in March at our Multisite Mastery event at the Midmark Experience Center. For those of our audience members who haven't been to the Midmark Experience Center in Versailles, Ohio, it is top notch. Not only is their hospitality unmatched, but you're going to see operatory design, practice design on a whole other level. And it's going to get you thinking about those de novo and acquisition ideas that you've got going for this next couple of years here. You're going to see it in a whole new light. So I'm excited to have Jennie talk to us about how certain efficiencies and Lean Six Sigma play into that and her presentation. So Jennie, first, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my background is nursing. I have a master's in nursing, so I've had that experience of, that bedside care and taking care of patients. I did that for quite a few years until I kind of graduated into a quality improvement role. And
Mm-hmm.
that is where I learned the beauty of Lean and Lean Six Sigma. I was taught by engineers at Purdue University, and that's where I was able to acquire my Six Sigma black belt. So I have the nursing background. I also have the operational engineering piece of it. And then the evidence-based design accreditation that kind of pulls it all together.
You have a really, truly interesting background. And couple of things. So first, for our audience, it's so important to them that we're talking to people who have walked in their shoes. So you know about workflow, you understand how that impacts your day. So that makes you a really credible source in their eyes. So thank you. We appreciate that clinical background. But we're going to have to stop for a second and help everybody understand, in case they don't, what is Lean Six Sigma and what does it mean to be a black belt? Because it sounds super cool.
Sure.
I want to make sure everybody understands.
Yeah, well, it's not about karate chopping or
Dang it.
anything like that. But what it is, a Lean Six Sigma black belt provides expertise in diagnosing and removing inefficiencies that slow down work. Okay. My lens is faced toward clinical, and it means I'm trained to see the root causes behind, delays that we have, variation that we have, even the frustration and things that teams usually feel every day, but they just can't quite articulate it. So as we talked about earlier, I use data. It's observation, it's structured problem solving to really help them simplify workflows, because we want our clinicians to spend more time with patients and less time fighting the processes they work in. And it's essentially that Lean Six Sigma black belt as a toolkit for designing what I would call reliability into healthcare.
Interesting. Now, how does somebody get to be a black belt in this? And are there, I assume there are stages before that. I mean, I know that there are, but I just want to hear you talk about it.
Right. I mean, it's as simple as just making a Google search and looking up what Lean Six Sigma is. But I will tell you, you start with typically a yellow belt, and it's based on the amount of education that you go through and the projects that you actually sponsor and provide as evidence that you can carry that Six Sigma black belt. So, anyway, you start with yellow, then you move into green, and then into black. And so black what took me about 6 years of project work and proof, the
Wow.
data that I could solve problems.
Wow, that's impressive. I've always wanted to talk to someone more about this, so I'm super excited that you're going to dive into it with us and then apply it to the summit. And you mentioned something about keen observations. I think that most organizations struggle to really see those inefficiencies because I think they're too close, right?
That's right.
When
Right. Don't.
so
They don't see it. You're
yeah,
right.
so when leaders come to the summit in March, what are the first things they suddenly notice about their own workflow that they couldn't see before?
I would say one of the biggest aha moments that leaders have is realizing what they were told about their problems. And, there's people problems and there's process problems. And you
Okay.
start to see when you're looking at process, you're starting to see how many steps in the workflow that are driven by habit and not purpose. They'll start to see delays that they have between tasks when nobody's really adding value. So you do need to know your waste and your value of your processes, right? And how those small gaps compound, like you said, you extrapolate that, but they get to see how gaps compound into staff frustration, those long wait times for patients, and the wasted resources. And I think what I could say for this is what they walk away saying is, I didn't realize how much waste is normalized. I mean,
Oh,
once
yeah.
you give them that framework to see, they're literally able to visualize flow. They're starting to spot the bottlenecks. They're seeing the unnecessary movements, the rework, all those extra handoffs, and those things that have been hidden in plain sight. So that's what I mean. I hope to leave everybody with a fresh set of eyes, right? A different lens, because it's not that the problems weren't there. It's just that no one has ever shown them how to observe their environment through that continuous improvement lens.
Continuous improvement. That's something that sounds
That's
simple, that I'm sure that it is, but we just don't see those little gaps
I
because,
know.
like you said, we're doing the same thing every day in the same way because maybe my favorite thing, because we've always done it that way, which does not work. Every once in a while, you can step back, evaluate, Like, is this working? Is it causing those bottlenecks
That's
that you
right.
mentioned there? So I know that you teach concepts that people can apply the very next day.
That's
What?
yes. Yeah,
Okay, good. Yeah, that's super valuable because people want to walk away and go back and make those changes because it impacts their bottom line at the end of the day and the value of the practice.
it sure
So,
does.
can you give us an example of a simple shift or a tool that's created immediate results in an organization?
Yeah, I mean, this sounds super simple, and you're just probably gonna be like, "Haven't you already done that?" But one of the simplest yet most powerful tools is standardized room layout. When you
Oh,
walk
yeah.
out of this, is just to really understand that it sounds basic, but the impact is immediate.
Hmm.
Okay. So when every exam room or operatory, in dental, we're using the word operatory, or a treatment room in healthcare is organized in the same way. And what that means is having supplies in the same place, equipment in the same zone, a clear visual, like visual cues. Clinicians will stop wasting time hunting for what they need, right?
Right.
So a great example is I worked with a team. And it was actually a veterinary team that reduced over 3,000 steps a day simply by just standardizing where supplies were stored. And that
Wow.
change, this is what the greatest part about lean is. It's creativity before capital. The thing about this is that change did not require budget. It didn't require a committee. It didn't require a 6-month project plan.
Yeah.
It required intentional design and a shared agreement. That's it. And
Wow.
the next day, guess what? The staff felt relief. And I'm telling you, that's the kind of practice and the practical win that people love to be in and work in because it proves improvement doesn't always mean like more work or more money. Sometimes it just means less friction. And that's
Yeah.
what I think a lot of us are looking for.
Well, 3,000 steps a day is a lot of oh my gosh.
That's a lot.
And
It
how much
is.
I'm thinking about how much time that equates to in your day where you could be using that in a more productive way or not,
Or
use
not.
the time
Maybe
that
you
you
just
have
get a
to
lunch break.
exactly. Like take a minute to breathe, right?
Really?
3,000 steps worth, that's a decent amount of time. Yeah, it's these different processes, it's taking a look with different eyes. I'm really glad that you've got some things that docs can leave Multisite Mastery and just knock these things out Monday morning.
I sure can. And we'll
Yeah.
do activities. I mean, we're not only when they come and they train and learn with me, I show them, I teach them, and then we do them together. And so you understand that when they get to practice that in the moment with me, they can go back and implement that as soon as they get off the airplane. It's that
Love it.
easy.
Love it. So I'm going to jump back a little bit.
Okay.
You have a, and I mentioned this a little at the intro, you have an unusual combination of clinical expertise, which we love, Lean Six Sigma, which we now understand, and evidence based design. How does that whole blend of perspective help organizations solve problems that they've not been able to fix before?
Yeah. Well, it's rare, right? It's
Yeah,
rare to bridge
we
those
like
3
rare.
worlds. It's rare to bridge those 3 worlds, and I didn't do them all at the same time. It was piece by piece. I just started finding parts and pieces that work together, and that's exactly where the advantage comes from. It's clinicians, which I am, understand the pressures and the realities of patient care.
Hmm.
Engineers, who I learned Six Sigma from, understand process and flow and waste. Designers who we work with, or we are a design company, understand the environment shapes human behavior.
Mm,
See how all this come together? And so
absolutely.
when you bring those disciplines together, you discover the most persistent problems aren't actually clinical. They're system problems.
You're
And that's
right.
what I want to teach people to do that are clinicians is see the system problems. We weren't taught that in school. We have the best universities that teach us how to care for patients, but they don't teach this piece, a system. So
Very
my
true.
background lets me kind of stand in the middle and translate. I can speak the clinical language. I can understand the why behind those decisions. I can apply Six Sigma to uncover root causes and redesign processes. I can use evidence-based design to create spaces that support the behavior that process requires. And that integration just unlocks solutions that a lot of teams couldn't reach before. But together, we can learn to finally fix those issues that were just part of the job for years.
Yeah, absolutely. And you come out of school, whether that's dental school, hygiene school, nursing school, no matter what, and you're plunked into a practice or hospital and you follow along what the process always is, and we're doing the same thing we've always done before. Like I
That's
said, that
it.
doesn't make it right. It doesn't make
Yeah,
it right.
Jamie, when you ever run into people that say this is the way we've always done it, run the other way.
Pet peeve, Jenny. Biggest pet peeve. Yeah, that it
No
does.
doubt.
Makes me run the other way. It makes me want to just jump in there and change something immediately. Like that tells me it's due,
Yeah,
like we're due for a change, right?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So you've got your experience, tie all that together. We like that rare experience because then you can really have huge impact with these
It's so
organizations.
fun too. It's just
Yes.
so fun. We make it fun. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And not everyone can say that about their work, but do more of what you love.
that's
That's
right.
the little motto that I live
I'm
by.
lucky I get to do it.
Yeah, and Midmark's lucky to have you. So I'll say it.
You.
So when those teams begin to see their work differently, when their eyes are opened, what kind of conversations start happening that weren't really possible before?
Okay, so this is the people side of change, right?
Yes, yes, that's what I'm getting at.
This is it. They start shifting blame to curiosity.
All right.
So
It's
instead
more
of,
productive.
why didn't you do this? Why didn't you get that done? Why,
Yeah.
the you problem, the
Mhm.
language becomes more, what in the process made this difficult? What
Yeah.
happened today that made this difficult? So you stop blaming people and really start looking at process.
Yeah.
I mean, teams just start having different conversations about flow instead of the firefighting we do every day. They're
Mhm.
starting to be like, where do handoffs break down? What's adding complexity? How does our environment help or hinder our workflow? Um, Gosh, one of the biggest thing is, what does the data tell us? You get people
All right.
comfortable looking at data, and
Yes.
you can feel the culture shift almost immediately. People just stop accepting frustration as part of their job and they start challenging the assumptions. They collaborate more, they experiment more,
Yeah.
um, and they feel empowered to just redesign their work instead of being victims of it.
And I love that that just cues up curiosity naturally in people because looking for fault and who did this and why is it this way are two very different things, right? So when like you said, when we shift from placing blame to how can we improve this or, where do these issues come from and let's solve for that, completely different perspective and just 100 times more productive. So love to see
Right. That's
really
right.
impactful for the whole organization or just at the practice level. And then we standardize that and we make it repeatable and scalable and look at what that does across an organization.
That's right.
So, going back to some of these processes, I know that healthcare leaders just get exhausted by complexity. What can they expect to leave with after learning these methods with Midmark?
Yeah, I think after, this isn't the first time we've done these types of events, right?
Mm,
And so I do actually have some factual feedback on that.
I like it.
They walk away with clarity. There's some clarity that they didn't have before. Healthcare, dental, the industry, they're full of competing priorities and the overwhelming complexity. And the leaders just often feel like improvement just is one more thing to add to their plate,
Yeah.
right?
True.
I can't do one more thing. But after a day with us or 2 days with us in Midmark, being able to go around and see how we operate lean, whether it's, inside our plant or in the experience center in our day-to-day work, the day after with us, they're going to leave with this, a simple proven framework to being able to see their workflows objectively. They're going to learn that all through the week. They're going to have a shared language that they can use with their teams to help drive change. They'll have a starter set of tools, just those observation techniques, layout strategies that we are going to work with them in, tangible ideas. I would say that they can just implement immediately when they get back, that don't require major uplift or investment.
Yeah.
And I think most importantly, that everybody needs, this is why they're there, is renewed confidence that they can improve their environment, reduce burden on their teams. And I think our goal at Midmark is to just help them remove the noise, help them walk out thinking, I can do this and my team will feel the difference. That's what I've heard in the past from attendees that have been to Midmark for these type of events.
Yes, and you gave a little preview that we are doing a plant tour.
Should I have done that?
No, that's great.
Oh.
I love that. You just
A lead plant tour because I want you to understand that this is what a lean manufacturing site looks like. But how do you take what you just saw out there and apply that to your practice? This is where I can help them see. And I too. And I think it'll be a great event for anyone that can get there. It changes the way we look at our work for sure.
I can vouch for that, having had the benefit of being on the plant tour before. I can't wait for our attendees to see it. I'm not going to give too much away because you've got just a ton to share in terms of that, and I don't want to spoil a surprise. But we will link to the event in the show notes. You can learn a little bit more about what Jennie's going to be talking about, more of what we covered today, and all of the other sessions as well at Multisite Mastery, Designing Growth with Confidence, aptly named, right?
That's right.
So go and check out all the courses, and you can register for the event via that link. But Jennie, we're so excited that you were here with us today. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and giving us some solid background and a little basis for what we're going to be hearing about in March. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jamie. That was a great conversation. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, we'll link to Multisite Mastery in the show notes. And just a side note, you can start watching some of these podcasts on YouTube. If you want to meet Jennie in person before the event, you can head over to YouTube and see this episode there. But as always, if you'd like to schedule some time to learn about any of our Polaris expert advisory services or learn about any of our events, or maybe there's a topic that we haven't covered yet that you'd like to hear about, you can send us an email to info@polarishealthcarepartners.com, or you can reach us by visiting our website at polarishealthcarepartners.com. Thanks so much for being a loyal listener and subscriber. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a colleague or friend and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you on the next episode of the Group Practice Accelerator Podcast.